And I'm saying along the way, focus on that and not the other things. And then I read an article in The Guardian about yours truly, Stephen A. Smith. In the interest of full disclosure, the article was written by a former NBA player, Etan Thomas, who's a smart dude, who's a good player. And I'm not here to cast any aspersions on him as a human being. I think he's a bright brother who's clearly emotional and devoid of facts or an unwillingness to hear facts, and instead is getting caught up in his emotion and wants to talk about moi. And the only reason I'm bringing it up on this platform is because it's relevant to the kind of things that I'm going to talk about all show long. Let me read a couple of graphs as to what they said about me in this article, authored by Etan Thomas. What does he say? The title of the article, first of all, is I Can Tell Stephen A. Smith Why Many Black People Don't Like Him. Okay. I won't bring up the fact that I go throughout the streets of America and I get black love from everywhere, but that's a story for another day. Instead, let me read to you what he said. Couple graphs. Far too often, Stephen A. Smith, you attack black male athletes in particular. Kyrie Irving, Kwame Brown, LeBron James, Terrell Owens, and Kevin Durant are just a few of your targets with the passion and vitriol you just don't reserve for white athletes and white executives. It doesn't stop there, though. You parrot right-wing talking points, as you did earlier this year, when you said that racism isn't as prevalent in the United States as some on the left claim. You went on to argue that most Americans judge people based on their character rather than skin color, which is not the experience of most black people in the United States. In the midst of ICE's brutalization of large parts of the country, you blamed Renee Good for her own death at the hands of federal agents. You didn't claim that people celebrated ICE under Obama, but are condemning Trump. That's not the only time you were sympathetic to the president. You called Democrats' efforts to hold Trump accountable in the courts as lawfare, end quote. It's particularly galling for black people when you chastise black athletes at the same time as minimizing a president who was convicted of 34 felonies. You're not much better with black politicians. You attacked Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett for not being respectful enough to Trump. I stopped there. The misrepresentations that I read in print about the things that I say sometimes are just nauseating. It makes me want to throw up. It's a lie.
If you are a marketer marketing a new product.
Dear Stephen A. Smith, I watched your Straight Shooter podcast, and I would encourage everyone to go and watch it. I'm not here to personally disparage you in any way, shape, or form. This isn't a personal attack. I'm sticking to the issues and only the issues. I would never demean you by calling you names or insulting you personally because we are grown-ups. Trump started this kindergarten tactic of calling out politicians by little nicknames, and it only reflects his lack of intellect, but I digress. The reason why I want to encourage everyone to go back and watch your podcast is so they can see for themselves how you did what is called creating straw man arguments, a term I learned at Booker T. Washington High School when we were state champions in basketball and state champions in speech and debate back in 1996. That's where I was first labeled as more than an athlete. Shout out to Tulsa World newspaper. But the term straw man argument is commonly used in politics, which you have now delved into. Straw man arguments are when someone, in your case, you, Stephen A. Smith, distorts, exaggerates, oversimplifies, or simply recreates their opponent's actual position. And by creating this easily defeated straw version, they attack the falsely created claim instead of engaging with the real argument. And you did it repeatedly on your podcast. Your shooting was not straight at all. It was, in fact, extremely crooked, pun intended.
Absolutely.
On Straight Shooter, you read a few actual quotes from my article, which were your quotes. And you're welcome to click the links in the article after I quoted you, because I actually did research. I wasn't lying on you, sir. You actually said these things. But after you read the quotes, you still didn't even argue the actual quote you had just read. And with all due respect, just because you start screaming does not mean you are making your points. It just means you are yelling. So let me calmly and rationally,
Thank you.
and without emotion, go through some of the quotes you read. You start off by taking issue with the title of my
Thank
article.
you. We're hip to that now,
In the
Stephen A.
Guardian, which was, I will tell Stephen A. Smith why many Black people don't like him. Your retort was that you get high fives from Black people when you walk in the street. That's it? Stephen A. Smith, I didn't just pull that out of the air. That was, first of all, a direct response to your segment, again on Straight Shooter, where you were saying, in response to Joy Reid, that you didn't understand why Black people don't like you. And you used a similar argument as you did here with me, that you are from hottest Queens and you go into arenas and walk the streets and get high fives. But just as you missed her point, you also missed mine. How many times has MAGA shown footage of Black celebrities taking pictures with Trump and smiling with Trump, and he is good friends with Nicki Minaj and she speaks so highly of him, and good friends with Nelly and Snoop, and they show old footage of him with Don King and Diddy and 50 Cent and whoever else, and says, see, he can't be racist. Look at all the Black people who loved him. That's what you did. Black people high-five you in the streets and in the arenas? Okay, you read a quote from my article where I said, far too often, you attack Black male athletes in particular. Kyrie Irving, who you did finally publicly apologize to, and I even gave you props on my social media when I saw you do it. But there are a lot more people that you need to apologize to. Kwame Brown, LeBron James, Terrell Owens, Stephon Marbury, Kevin Durant. You have a long history of doing this. But you read my quote where I said in my article in The Guardian that you attack Black male athletes with a passion and vitriol you just don't reserve for white athletes and executives. Now, your straw man argument was that you have to do your job and cover the team because you're a beat writer and a columnist and a pundit and on TV and radio. And if a player is doing something that you feel is detrimental to the team or not playing as good as he should be on the team, and you cover it, you're doing your job. Stephen A. Smith, that was not my point. I said, and I'll repeat, with Black athletes, when it comes to criticism, you have a passion and vitriol that you do not have when it comes to white athletes and executives. So argue that. Defend yourself against that specific accusation. And here's the thing, Stephen A. Smith. You're doing it right now in real time with Jaylen Brown. You're literally proving my point. That's why Dan Le Batard said that he hated what you and Skip Bayless have done to sports media.
Journalist and ESPN talent, Stephen A. Smith.
I hate what you two have done to sports television.
You can say that all you want to. I would say, who the hell are you to sit up there and say me and him? What about you? What the hell were you living under a rock, teaching at Miami U? You were part of it too.
I'm talking.
You ain't innocent.
I'm talking about all the imitators that you have birthed. All of the imitators that are all over the place, thinking without the journalism credentials that the point of all this is to turn it into an argument on television.
And you immediately took offense, but you didn't actually listen to what he was actually saying. Then you took issue with me saying that you parrot right-wing talking points. This was interesting. Your claim was that you are actually doing this to highlight their talking points so that we know what they are
You
saying.
do. I'm listening to you. I
and
hear you do it all the time,
combat
guy.
it effectively. Come on now, Stephen A. Smith. You know good and well that's not the presentation. Then you said if the Democratic Party would have just listened to you, Stephen A. Smith, Trump wouldn't have been back in office. Sir, to quote the late Kobe Bryant, that was a Bikram yoga stretch.
Wow. You know what? That's a Bikram yoga stretch. You stretched the hell out of it. Good job.
The quotes I wrote about, which were in fact your own words, are nauseating and makes many people want to throw up, as you said they make you. But there was no misrepresentation or misconstruing or taking out of context. These are, in fact, your actual words, whether you want to stand by them or not. And again, I provided links to all of your words in my article in The Guardian. If you want to go back and read and listen to what you actually said on camera. You might as well have said, fake news, it's fake, I never said it, it's a lie, it's all a lie. Trump, Stephen A., we have the video of you saying it. No, it's the radical left. I would never say it, never even thought it. I wouldn't say it, I don't believe it. Fake news, that's basically what you did. Believe me, not your lying eyes. Now, you tried to backtrack and moonwalk away from what you said about Renee Good after she was murdered by ICE agent Jonathan E. Ross. Now, yes, you did say it was heinous for the officer to do. You did say that, but that wasn't my point. Your straw man argument was that you were right about him getting off. Again, sir, that was not my point. That wasn't what I was listing as another example of why many Black people don't like you. Your actual attempt to defend yourself, you again repeated that Renee Good put herself in that position. Those were your exact words. That means you're saying it was her fault. Then you went on to say that she did this wrong and she did that wrong. Let me make this easy for you. Nothing Renee Good did justified being shot in the face by ICE agent Jonathan E. Ross. That's it, and that's all. To quote my man Robin Van, that's his phrase. I just use it from time to time. I noticed in your segment, you cut out the part of her actually driving away because it didn't match what you were saying, that she almost ran him over, but she didn't actually do that. That's why your producers edited that part out. The video, if the video would have supported your claim, they would have showed it, but they didn't, and they didn't for a reason. Another point you brought up was that you took issue with me, again, quoting you when you said racism is not as prevalent as some on the left claim. Now, your straw man argument was to compare the racism in its current form in 2026 to how racism presented itself in the 1960s in terms of segregation and Jim Crow and everything our parents and grandparents went through. But you're arguing a point I didn't make. Your quote that you read was saying that the left is currently saying that racism is worse than it actually is. And you said that it's not as prevalent as the left claims it is.
Would you worry about racism if he ran for president?
No. I know it exists. I know that you can't escape it, but I do not believe it is as prevalent as some on the left would like us to believe. I do believe a vast majority of Americans judge you on the content of your individual character rather than the color of your skin. I think a lot of people in America, especially in this day and age, now more so than ever before, it's not about race. It's about the fact that they don't give a damn about it because they got their own problems. That's entirely different than believing they are superior to you and they want to hold you back from ascending. That's not what's going on to the degree that it was decades ago. What's going on now is that we have more white Americans and others suffering and worried about the state of our nation. And because they're concerned about that, that's where their worries lie.
That was the Stephen A. Smith quote. So argue against that point, but that's not what you did. You again created another straw man argument. But I will give you credit. because you did lay out your objections to what you are seeing Trump currently do with our voters' rights and the fact that he can run for president with 34 felonies. But you left out when you, Stephen A. Smith, chastised Democrats for pursuing the accusations of Trump being in the Epstein files. You argued again on your show, Straight Shooter, that the Democrats' sudden outrage and push for transparency smelled political. It was intended to score points rather than seek genuine justice. You, Stephen A. Smith, expressed skepticism regarding the broader obsession from the Democrats with the Epstein client lists. I remember seeing you on Bill Maher's show. It was a real piece of work. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Dave Chappelle expressed or his sentiments about him. But you actually defended Trump's 34 felonies and told Black people to, quote unquote, leave him alone. Stephen A., you will chastise any Black athlete for any infraction of any law or NBA rule, but you don't hold the president of the United States to the same standard? How many times have you been on camera defending Donald Trump?
That's all you've got? It's really, really surprising that this matters. Of course, I think there's a list, but I don't know. I suspect, but I have no knowledge, nor do I care. It's Friday night. I'm getting ready to go out and enjoy myself. I'm getting ready to have a nice weekend. I can give a damn about the Epstein client list. It has no effect on me whatsoever. I have a life. I don't understand for the life of me why this matters so much to these. I'm talking about people losing it. They're crying on camera. They're talking about resignations. They're pissed off about everything. I'm like, really? With all the stuff going on in this country, with all the power that you possess because of the cash and the influence you have because of your connection to this administration, that's why you upset at Trump. I didn't blame Trump one bit for looking at them and saying, really? That really matters to you? That's really that important? Now, maybe he had a different reason for saying it, trying to be evasive or whatever. I don't know. But I do know this. In the grand scheme of things, it ain't going to affect the lives of over 200 to 300 million Americans. I think we'll be just fine without knowing whether or not there was really, really a client list. I think we'll be okay.
Are you still spending thousands on mailers?
Wish for what?
Hi, I'm Steven, co-founder of StoreCloud. Running an online store in 2026 isn't a product problem anymore. It's an operational problem. The hardest part isn't funding a great product. It's everything that comes after. Market research, store design, SEO, content, social media, email campaigns, ad optimization, retargeting. And when you start selling on a second platform, double it. Every new channel, every new tool, every new tactic, it all lands on your plate. Your business is growing, but your workload is growing faster. You end up running the machine, not the business. That's why we built StoreCloud, the first autonomous commerce engine built to grow your profits, not your work.
Since 1964, the black folks, we have been giving our vote to the Democratic Party at an exorbitant rate. Therefore, they know they got our vote, and they don't have to cater to us as much as we need them to. The Republicans know they'll never get our vote, so they don't give a damn about us. And as a result, we're the only community in America devoid of representation, which is why we're considered disenfranchised. I'm tired of that. What I want is to put ourselves as a community in a position where both parties have to work to get our vote.
Can I ask you this? Do you think you covering politics like you cover politics, in the words of your mans, is that good for business, your business?
It has the potential not to be. We'll have to see. So far it is. I think I'm doing pretty good.
Sir, that's your solution? So let's talk a little bit about what Trump and MAGA have done. And your good friend, Sean Hannity, who you love to express your admiration towards, even though he champions and advocates for these very policies, but you don't know why black people don't like you. I still don't understand how that's possible. But the Trump administration just recently advanced policies that systematically restrict black voting rights and dilute black political power. They dismantled voting rights acts that our grandparents, not our ancestors, but our grandparents fought for. As soon as Trump returned to office in 2025, he immediately moved to limit police accountability by dismantling federal oversight tools, rescinding misconduct tracking, and promoting aggressive police tactics. Key actions including shutting down the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database and the shifting of the DOJ away from consent decrees. And he has taken action to reverse federal police reforms and oppose the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that everybody got around in 2020 after George Floyd was murdered. Now, I co-authored Eric Garner's daughter, Emerald Garner's book with her called Finding My Voice. And I watched her cry hysterically after Trump just wiped away all of her efforts of holding police accountable after her father was murdered by NYPD officer Daniel Pantaleo. And that's the man who you consistently told black people to feel sympathetic for?
I knew Trump before he ran for the presidency. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to him. He was a huge sports fan. He used to throw a lot of events at